Every 8th of July, the county down village of Saintfield is awash with colour as it celebrates its identity as one of the hubs of Orangism today. At the centre of an area of centuries-old Scottish settlement, in the 18th century it boasted one of Ireland's largest and most forward-looking Presbyterian congregations, zealous for constitutional reforms that would give both nonconformists and Roman Catholics equal rights with Ireland's Anglican ruling class, and offer the island a system of government inclusive of all its inhabitants. Today, a sea of banners celebrate key moments like the Siege of Derry, in which 10,000 defenders died, the martyrdom of early church reformers, King William, who delivered Ireland's Protestants from the threat of ethnic cleansing in 1690, and more recent events like the Battle of the Somme, in which thousands of Ulster and Irish lives were sacrificed. The Orange celebrations mix religious and family values in a celebratory day out, which is an important affirmation of cultural identity. In a Protestant community where dissent is the essence of freedom and dozens of Protestant sects compete with each other, Orange festivities provide a vehicle for expressing a shared British identity. It's a carnival day in which young and old can be together, remember lost friends, enjoy the colourful pageantry, the music, and a familiar sense of belonging. But it's also an exorcism of a deeply rooted fear of extirpation. Today, Anglicans and Dissenters walk side by side, yet in the 1798 rising, Saintfield's Presbyterians ranged themselves against the King's men of the York Fencible Regiment, which numbered many English Orangemen from a lodge founded by the son of King George III. Two weathered tombstones, a tiny plaque in a Saintfield graveyard, and this memorial in Cumber Parish Church are mirror images of that day's tragic sacrifice to conflicting ideals that divided the Protestant community in the 98. The memory of the Yorkshiremen who lost their lives in Ulster soil lives on today in a name and number, that of their lodge, L.O.L.145. As Belfast's silent streets await the big parade, in Clifton Street Hall, one of Ireland's oldest lodges is getting ready to break the tradition and make the 12th of July celebrations a moment of historical pageantry, going to the field in the costumes of the 98 in a horse-drawn break. Hard hats and sashes are hung up in favour of a tricorn and a red coat. It was an opportunity to inform and stimulate the public, to meet American friends on equal terms, and chase up historical and genealogical connections. Many American revolutionaries were Scots-Irish Presbyterians. The success of the new American Republic led some of their kindred in Ulster to dream of forging in Ireland a new state that would be ecumenical, inclusive, and internationalist. Others remained loyal to their British identity and the ideal of constitutional monarchy. Beyond the euphoria of one of the biggest parades on earth, this year's journey to the field ultimately led to a journey back in time, as York Lodge began to explore the reasons that lay behind the inception and growth of Orangism itself, and the parallel rise in Ulster of the mainly Presbyterian United Irishmen. An extraordinary coalition between York Island Arts and Heritage Association, local lodges, two cross-community living history groups, and a dedicated team of actors led to a first public re-evocation of the 98 Rebellion and the Battle of Saintfield. Liberty or death, the cry of Ulster's idealistic rebels, was culled from the French revolutionaries' Marseillaise.
Death to the French!
From the idea of re-evocation came the idea of dramatisation. And so, for 10 days in August, our cast walked out of their everyday lives and onto the film set to make the telling of this important chapter of our history possible. The Ireland of the late 18th century was like a rumbling volcano. For a century, peace had reigned, and the Ulster linen industry prospered, despite trade restrictions imposed by London. But neither Roman Catholics nor nonconformists had any voice in government, and power was firmly in the hands of a narrow Anglican, Anglo-Irish oligarchy. Born at Mount Stewart in County Down, Robert Stewart, later Lord Castlereagh, was the first leader of Scots Presbyterian stock to break that monopoly. The son of Lord Londonderry, he was a man of progressive principles and was elected to Parliament for his home county at the age of only 21 in a fiercely contested election against Lord Moira, who represented the old aristocracy. His pledge to reform won strong support from prominent Presbyterians like Dr. George Birch and his brother, the Reverend Thomas Ledlie Birch. The future Lord Castlereagh proudly declared upon election, "I love the cause of the people," a cause that he pledged himself to maintain. Like future revolutionaries Theobald Wolfe Tone and Archibald Hamilton Rowan, Robert Stewart was a member of the reforming Northern Whig Club. So radical was the climate in Presbyterian Eastern Ulster in 1791 that Tom Paine's The Rights of Man sold like hotcakes, and Belfast's rising merchant class joyously celebrated the progress of the French Revolution and vociferously championed votes for Roman Catholics in the press. None more so than the Reverend Thomas Ledlie Birch of Saintfield. He was married to his cousin, Isabella Ledlie, whose surname he assumed. Ministering to one of Ireland's largest Presbyterian flocks, Birch was a Freemason and outspoken contributor to the radical Northern Star newspaper. He founded the first Society of United Irishmen in County Down and became increasingly critical of kingship. His brother, George Birch, JP, remained close to Castlereagh, whose reforming ardour was soon cooled by the responsibilities of power.
I say, Tom, I know you're hot on this reform thing, but really, don't you think you're going a bit too far? I mean, saying you'd rather go to Botany Bay than see that Catholics deprived of their emancipation.
But we got young Castlereagh elected, but there's no sign of the progress he promised us all.
With the risk of rebellion and a French invasion in everyone's mind, look, it's hardly the time. Come along, boys. Say goodbye to your aunt and uncle.
Goodbye, sir. Goodbye. Bye, boys.
George must have been concerned by the radical company his brother kept and the extreme nature of his opinions. His Botany Bay declaration reviled emancipationist Henry Joy's proposal for gradual Catholic emancipation as tantamount to leaving men in the most abject slavery.
United for our country, indeed. Come in. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Liberty Hall. Good evening. Colonel Fraser, Mr. Nicholas McGean. These gentlemen are parishioners of mine. Please, gentlemen, be seated. We are here today to form ourselves into a Society of United Irishmen for the furtherance of a radical change in the constitution of this land.
Here, here.
And now, gentlemen, the oath. I, Thomas Ledlie Birch, in the presence of God,
do solemnly promise that through divine assistance I shall endeavour to cultivate friendship with and between persons of every religious profession, and I shall be aiding and assisting by every lawful means in promoting the religious and civil liberties of the people of Ireland. The United Irish Oath pledged constitutional reform, but old tunes were soon used to sing new songs, exhilarating French hymns to liberty, equality, and fraternity. Meanwhile, in the Linen Triangle of Armagh, Monaghan and Tyrone, the high-flown rhetoric of revolution fell on deaf ears. Land hunger fostered sectarian strife. Roman Catholic defender associations threateningly pledged themselves to quell the nation of heresy. Their violent attacks and mutilation of livestock excited the reprisals and house burnings of the Protestant Peeper-Day boys. The country's main source of wealth became a bone of contention as Catholic weavers, newcomers to the industry, undercut their Protestant rivals. No one's hearth was safe, as the horrific torture and murder of a Forkhill schoolmaster and his wife proved the predominantly Anglican Protestants of County Armagh. Matters came to a head in 1795 at the Diamond near Loch Gall, where Dan Winter's Vintners, a Peeper-Day's meeting place, was attacked by a 300-strong Catholic mob. Many Protestants had got wind of the danger, and as Dan's house burned, they ranged themselves out of sight along the ridge above the Diamond. As the mob triumphantly pursued Dan and his sons up the hill, they were met by a concerted volley, not only from Peeper-Day boys, but also from reputable Protestant farmers, fearful for their community. At the end of the Battle of the Diamond, 48 defenders lay dead. In the green fields of Armagh, Protestant farmers, many of them Freemasons,